Thank you for joining us for some vital information on this Fox 26 News Hurricane Special. Are you ready? Memorial Day weekend is typically the unofficial start of summer, but also marks the final days before hurricane season, which officially begins June 1st. Fox 26 meteorologists are keeping us ready with insights and explanations about what this season may hold.
Hurricane season is rapidly approaching. For the past several years, we've experienced record-breaking tropical activity. A few days ago, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA, released their outlook for this year. Here's what we can expect.
We just experienced two extremely active hurricane seasons, marking the first time on record that two consecutive hurricane seasons exhausted the list of 21 storm names.
And this year, NOAA is calling for yet another active season. This in the wake of 2020, which was the most active year on record, and 2021, which was the third. It would make for the 7th consecutive season above normal. The 2022 outlook calls for 14 to 21 named storms of at least tropical storm strength, 5 to 10 hurricanes with at least Category 1 classification, and 3 to 6 major hurricanes, which are considered Category 3 or above. The ranges account for the uncertainties that come with long-range forecasting. But if we end up on the low end of the outlook, we would make it through at least the N name on the list, which this year is Nicole. If we end up on the high end of the range, we would exhaust the 21 names for the third year in a row, making it all the way down to Walter. As a reminder, the Greek alphabet will no longer be used as a backup, so in the event that this year's list is exhausted, here is the new list of subsidiary names that we would dip into in the event that we see more than 21 named storms.
We're seeing these storms happen more frequently. They're lasting longer.
The expected increase in activity this year is being driven by several key factors. First, a recurring La Nina pattern, which Mike will discuss in detail in another segment. Second, Atlantic sea surface temperatures are warmer than usual, which is fuel for storms. And lastly, an active West African monsoon season, which supports stronger waves exiting the coast of Africa, historically known for supporting long-lived intense storm formation.
We want to be able to make sure that we are putting personnel, commodities, and equipment in place before the storm hits, so we are ready to respond and support the communities that may have been impacted by the storm.
Mitigation strategies that are becoming easier thanks to improvements made to forecasting. The cone of uncertainty has gotten significantly smaller over time. Since 2000, NOAA reports a 57% improvement in 72-hour track error. Changes in intensity are also able to be identified sooner, with 40% less error since 2000. This thanks in part to the addition of Dropson and Hurricane Hunter flight data into model runs, along with NOAA tripling their computer power to allow for overall better modeling. These improvements can help pinpoint areas most at risk sooner, allowing for more efficient evacuation of zones.
We are encouraged by the continued coordinated efforts of federal, regional, state, city, and local partners to rescue, recover, and rebuild after these events, and as equally important, develop hazardous weather planning and mitigation efforts ahead of the next, which will ultimately lead to a more weather and climate-ready nation.
So as we inch our way closer to the start of hurricane season, it's important to be prepared for whatever that may bring. Whether we experience 5 storms or 30, it only takes one to cause devastating damage. And that storm doesn't even need to be a hurricane. Plan and prepare accordingly, and your Gulf Coast Weather Authority will be here to walk you through it every step of the way. For Fox 26 Houston, I'm meteorologist Lena Maria Arango.
And as Lena mentioned, this year's forecast features a unique event, the triple dip La Nina she mentioned. Here's meteorologist Mike Iskovitz with what that means.
So what exactly is a triple dip La Nina? Well, let's start out with what a La Nina is and what effect it has on hurricanes. So in an average year, you have the trade winds blowing across the equatorial regions of the Earth. They're all around the Earth, and it's a very typical pattern. And this tends to steer warm water, or keep warm water there centered at the equator. Some years, like this one, a La Nina year, those trade winds speed up a bit, so they're blowing more strongly, and they actually pull water away from the west coast of South America. That brings water up from under the surface, which is called upwelling, and it actually creates a pool of cooler than normal conditions. We call that the La Nina. Its effect is that it tends to make the jet stream winds, the upper level winds, weaker across the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. That results in more frequent tropical storms, and in fact we tend to have approximately double the number of storms in La Nina years than we do in El Nino years. This map shows us what is called the sea surface temperature anomaly. Is it below normal or above normal? Above normal would be yellow or orange. This blue area shows that we have a large portion of the Pacific Ocean with below normal temperatures. That's our La Nina. So what makes it a triple dip La Nina? Well, it means that it's going to be lasting for 3 years, potentially. This is a chart of the last several years of El Nino and La Nina oscillations, and it tends to go back and forth about every year or two. But some of these La Ninas last a long time. We had one back in 2007, 2008, another one back in 2010, 2011, and this latest one where we have taken one dip in 2020, a second dip in 2021, and our third dip, or the triple dip La Nina, this year for the summer of 2022.
Mike, thank you. All hurricane season long, meteorologist John Dawson will be back testing out the latest hurricane gear on the market. He's got a preview of what you can expect this season.
Well, just like last year, I'll be testing products and then giving them a rating on my Hurricane Kit priority scale. We'll cover some of the classic items like food and water, but also some of the newer products on the market and, of course, the latest in technology. But a quick reminder, the purpose of the Hurricane Gear Test is not to try to get you to buy or not buy a specific product. I want to get you thinking about hurricane preparedness. I want you to evaluate your specific needs and consider how to best prepare for them. Here are my 5 must-have items to start a hurricane kit. You need food and water, a good light source like a flashlight or a lantern, and a way to charge your cell phone, and of course a first aid kit. Here are some new samples I've received of each of those basic items. And we'll start with ReadyWise. They've recently partnered with the American Red Cross on a new line of hurricane-specific products. Now, I've tasted their food in the past and I look forward to trying it again. Now, Path Water comes in recyclable, refillable, and reusable aluminum bottles. And they want us to think about being eco-friendly. And we can discuss how that works for emergency preparedness. And speaking of saving the planet, BioLite has been serving up renewable energy for years. They've sent me several different light sources, and I'll have to narrow it down and pick one to show you. And I told you have to have a way to charge your cell phone. Well, this 400-watt portable power station will certainly take care of that. This is the Nomad by Rock Solar, and its lithium batteries inside will pretty much power anything that you need to, and for sure your cell phone. And I featured some of the Adventure medical kits in the past, but they've sent me their new trauma kit, and we'll get a chance to look at that this summer. In the coming months, I'll give detailed reviews of all of these, plus many more items you may want to consider adding to your hurricane plans. And I was excited earlier this year to give a presentation about my hurricane gear test at the National Tropical Weather Conference in South Padre Island. All the hurricane experts are there and are predicting an active season and agree that preparation is a key. Dr. Phil Klotzbach with the Colorado State University released their seasonal forecast calling for 19 named storms, 9 of those hurricanes and 4 classified as major hurricanes. The 30-year average, or what we call normal, would only expect 14, 7, and 3.
Basically, the idea with these hurricane forecasts is they're an informational tool, but they're not a preparedness tool. Basically, we can put out forecasts that show some skill, but we can't say exactly when or where storms are going to strike. And obviously, it only takes one storm near you to make it an active season. For example, 1983 only had 4 storms. We only got to D in the alphabet in 1983, but the A storm that year, which didn't come until late August, was Hurricane Alicia, which was obviously a devastating hurricane for the Houston metro area.
Well, it's coming up on 5 years since Harvey. Yeah, we had Nicholas last year, but it wasn't highly impactful except right on the beaches. And we had Imelda with all of the big rains that we had with that. People are kind of used to big rains in our area, and I think they're more savvy now than in the past. But kind of what I've learned over my career was the farther you get away from a catastrophe event, the the more it slips from memory and people start getting a little lax on being prepared. So not a time to quit being prepared.
If you live right along the Gulf Coast, evacuations could happen when a severe storm surges in. Next, how to stay ready to get out safely. And we've got some pro tips for putting your emergency kit together for less. First, focus on what you really need. Think bare essentials like water, non-perishables, batteries, flashlights, clothes, blankets, medicine, that sort of thing. If you're a homeowner, think about what yard tools and supplies you may need, then pool with neighbors to see what equipment they have and share. Here's another tip for your emergency kit savings list. Do some prep work for free. Gather stuff you already have, like cell phone charges, maps, emergency cash, in an easy-to-reach place so you can grab them quickly. Also, instead of buying water by the case, bottle your own using leftover bottles. You can find water purification tablets if necessary. When a storm comes, it's important for some along the Texas coast to get out of the way. Galveston County is reminding its residents about evacuation routes. When Hurricane Rita threatened Houston in 2005, the highways were crippled with millions trying to evacuate all at once. The spectacle forced authorities to make better plans.
So all the red is supported evacuation routes.
In our area, Galveston County is often in the crosshairs of oncoming storms, with a vulnerable population right on the coast, and a system has been developed to get them out if necessary. It starts with residents making preparations to bug out.
We talk about make a plan, build a kit, and stay informed. Well, all that is happening now before the storm. So making sure when we do call out evacuation, you grab your bags, put them in your vehicle, and you leave as soon as you can.
The county would order people out by zip code in 3 phases, starting at the coast and moving north, encouraging drivers to take one of 3 routes: Highway 6, the I-45 Gulf Freeway, and Highway 146. Along the way, fuel supplies, tow trucks, and law enforcement would be positioned to help keep traffic flowing, as would efforts to manage ongoing construction that could slow the effort.
So we're in constant communication with our partners on if we do have to do an evacuation, what can we do to try to alleviate a lot of that construction, the traffic, move cones, barricades, whatever we need to do to move the residents out safely.
Most of all, there is encouragement to prepare now before it's too late.
But even if it's a slow hurricane season that they project, but you get hit with a hurricane, it's a busy hurricane season for you.
Up next, Houston is ranked as the #1 in most danger from hurricanes. Our Fox Weather meteorologist and hurricane specialist Brian Norcross explains next. And third on your emergency kit savings list, stock up on non-perishable food when it's on sale. You want things like dry cereal, canned goods, granola bars, peanut butter, dried fruit and nuts. As the storm approaches, if you can make one last trip to the store, buy a bag of apples or oranges, something fresh that keeps for a while. Number 4 on the Fox 26 Hurricane Emergency Kit savings list, make your own first aid kit. It's often cheaper to buy the individual items separately than in a pre-made kit. Look for bandages at discount stores and keep an eye out for sales or coupons at the drugstore. You'll be able to tailor your kit to your needs. Fox Weather is a great streaming resource as we enter hurricane season. Hurricane expert Brian Norcross talks about one of his best preparedness tips with meteorologist Mike Iskovitz.
Well, I want to start out, Brian, as a hurricane specialist. A while back, you ranked the top 5 cities that are most dangerous, the top 5 most dangerous hurricane cities, and the people watching at home might be able to imagine who you ranked as #1. Can you tell us?
That would be Houston. And the reason is that you have so much dangerous infrastructure in Houston. It's not that Houston is most likely to get a storm, but the potential for having a horrendous hurricane where water comes up the ship channel and impacts the industrial plants, the refineries and everything else, and then all that contaminated water comes into downtown Houston. I mean, there is no other city that has exactly that potential. Now, every other city along the coast has some kind of serious potential, including fuel tanks and things like that sit too close to the water, but nothing on the scale of Houston.
You can stream Fox Weather through the Fox News, Fox Business, and Fox Now apps, as well as on Tubi. You can find it on YouTube TV, Amazon News, and the Roku channel. As hurricane season nears, we talk a lot about homeowners insurance, but if you are one of the thousands of renters in the area, what do you need to know? Consumer reporter Heather Sullivan has that next. Fifth on your emergency kit savings list, collect cost-effective items by using coupons or cash back sites. When you pick up hydrogen peroxide, for example, bleach and bandages, make sure to buy generic. They'll work just as well as the brand name stuff. You could also save further by buying in bulk. You can ask a neighbor or a friend to split the purchase. Sixth on your emergency kit savings list, consider battery-free options. You can always get wind-up flashlights and weather radios and skip the expensive batteries. Homeowners certainly need to prepare for hurricanes. Renters do as well. 40% of Houston residents are renters. Consumer reporter Heather Sullivan has some smart sense on how they too can be ready when disaster strikes.
If you live in a rental home or an apartment, you don't have to insure the property because you don't own it. But you do want to buy renter's insurance, which protects your furniture and belongings if they're damaged. And the good news is it's actually pretty cheap. The average is $168 a year or $14 a month.
Apartments and rental homes have taken some serious blows when hurricanes hit.
Windows can get blown out, and wind-driven rain can come into your place, ruin your furnishings or ruin your clothing, ruin your rugs. That would be covered under a renter's policy.
If you live on the ground floor in a flood zone, you may also want to buy flood insurance.
And again, because you're only insuring your contents for flood, it's a relatively cheap policy.
For renters, flood insurance starts at a couple $100s a year, depending on your flood risk, and takes 30 days to take effect. Vehicles parked on the ground can flood. You'll want to have comprehensive coverage in your auto insurance policy, which adds an average of $172 a year, or about $14 a month.
Comprehensive coverage kicks in for things that don't involve a collision. Things like a flooded car, or even things like a tree branch falling from the sky and denting your car.
Before a storm hits, take a video with your cell phone of your belongings so you'll have an inventory and proof if you need to file a claim for damages.
You're going to want to pack an emergency kit. You're going to need some non-perishable foods to last you 3 days, bottled water, any medications you need to take. Have some flashlights and batteries, maybe a lantern ready to go, a first aid kit, a charger for your cell phone, and if you have a pet, have some pet food ready and a carrier to keep them safe. Heather Sullivan, Fox News.
Thanks so much for joining us.
We hope this helps you get a little more prepared for hurricane season 2022.
We've got a lot more information available on our website at fox26houston.com.
Just click on the Tracking the Tropics. And don't forget to download the Fox 26 Weather app if you haven't already. Good night.
And a big thanks to our weather team. Thanks to you as well for tuning in. We'll see you tonight at 9.